As a bar expert, it was so important for me to be involved in this project to really help people redefine their relationship with alcohol. Our culture here in Louisiana, as you know, is focused around sort of the ritual of drinking and celebration and food and festivity. And, delivering our new book, Craft, the E-Fit Guide to Zero Proof Cocktails, is only going to help people on this journey.
Yay Networks.
A quick note before we dive into today's podcast. If you like what you hear, I would love for you to subscribe to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, wherever you download your podcast. It would also be incredible if you take a minute to rate and review this podcast. Those things do matter and they really help us. Y'all know I love talking about behind the scenes. I think there's so many things that we see the result of something and we think, oh, well, that looks easy or polished or seamless or whatever it is. And so I just really love kind of peeling those layers back and showing and featuring how something came to be. And this week, that something is Craft. It is our new book, Craft, the Eat Fit Guide to Zero Proof Cocktails. It is hitting stores as we're recording this. It is hitting stores this month as you're hearing this. You can order it online at craftzeroproof.com. We have the full gist of the book there. You can also find retailers there. So I'm joined today by the team, the masterminds that helped to bring this together. We've got myself as one of the contributing writers, Ethan Skaggs as our bar expert who created this content and wrote this beautiful book with us, Melanie Warner Spencer, who served as our executive editor, and then also Hope Frugé, our Eat Fit Monroe dietitian, who has this hidden talent and now not so hidden talent, a photographer. So welcome, y'all.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to be here. Be with you guys again. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Molly. It's great to be back on the podcast.
So I'll link to the one that Ethan, Melanie, and I did maybe within the past year, sort of right when we sent the book to the publisher, but how the book came to be. And we've talked a lot about the background of that. Now that the book is in our hands, the book is in stores, the photography and the visuals in the book are just breathtaking. It's like, that is what everyone looks at and goes, wow. You can't even believe they don't look like they would be Eat Fit, that they would be low sugar and such. They also don't look zero proof.
So far, the people that I have talked to that have seen the book are all kind of blown over by how sophisticated it looks and exactly what you said, that these look like fancy cocktails that you would get out at a restaurant. They do not look like the usual fizzy sort of mocktail that you envision when you think of a non-alcoholic cocktail.
They're not just a spritzer.
Not just a spritzer. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this is a lush and very elevated take on the zero proof genre. And it has so much to offer beyond just the recipes and the gorgeous photography by Hope and these delicious, delicious drinks. But it really offers a lot of information that's the other thing people are telling me, that they love that we have all this information on various alternative sweeteners that are plant-based and natural and no chemical, and the information on the different barware. I mean, it's really a resource.
The star of the show, the beautiful, beautiful drinks in here. Hope, let's talk through this. Like, you've been on our Eat Fit team for several years, and Hope is just everything that is, the word grace is always what comes to mind. Hope is the person I think that has just the most grace of anyone I know.
I would second that.
And also all these hidden
Which
talents.
is funny to me that you say that, because I always say when I'm clumsy, which happens from time to time, they didn't name me Grace for nothing. They chose Hope. So it's funny that you call me graceful or whatever.
Yes, you're so yes, full of grace, graciousness.
Well, thank you.
You have these hidden talents and you have these strengths that are you don't keep them hidden, but they're all around you. You have all these things that it hopes like, oh, well, I've done fill in the blank. And so you had some experience with a magazine, Edible Nashville magazine, and you had done some food photography there before joining our team. So talk to us about that, and also just the drinks and the photos in general, and like just taking on a whole project of pulling this book together with us from the photography side.
Oh my gosh. Well, I remember when you and I first had a conversation about me coming on to join the team and be with Eat Fit. We talked about the first cookbook, the Eat Fit cookbook. And so y'all had done one around food. And I told you a little bit about my history in loving photography, totally self-taught. I don't have any classical training or didn't get a degree or a minor in photography, but I did take a photojournalism class in college. My first degree is in mass communications with an emphasis in journalism. So I got my feet wet in college, my hands really on a camera for the first time. But it was many years after that I slowly but surely saved up to purchase my own DSLR camera. It happened to come in on Cinco de Mayo, I think the day that I started in an internship with Edible Nashville when I lived there. And so I took it with me on the first day. And my editor, Jill Melton, looked at me as a legit photographer. And she's like, oh, you have that camera? Come on, I want you to shoot this recipe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to fake it until I make it because I don't even know how to turn this thing on, basically. But it was very much getting my feet wet, learning on the job, making tons of mistakes, reading, constantly consuming. And, I was thinking about this as I've really reflected on the book, how, what an honor it was to just work with you all and to see this to completion. I was pregnant with our second daughter, and last night she was there on my hip while we were celebrating at the party. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, it feels like we've burst a book too. It's just, and it's a beautiful baby. So it's something I'm really proud of to see to completion with all of you. But I just really, I think that sometimes people who have taught themselves and learned as we've gone, whether it's, chefs or writers, we don't have to have that necessarily have that formal education. And that certainly wasn't my experience. I've learned as I've gone, but I love food, and food to me is art. And I've always said we eat with our eyes first and foremost. So it really should look good and be beautiful before we ever consume it. And that goes for drinks too. So I love that the first cookbook, the Eat Fit cookbook, surrounded food and all of our Eat Fit partners. And I didn't get to be part of that one because I think I came on to the team right after it kind of went to print and y'all had already wrapped that project. But I was really excited about the prospect of being able to photograph the next book. And you asked me, and it had been a while since I had picked up that camera. And I felt very rusty. In fact, I got a little bit of cold feet when everything was ready to just go action. And we were at our first location, which was the Eli in Monroe, which is my region for Eat Fit. We had the drink in front of me. It was all styled. It was beautiful. I don't remember even which one was our first one. And I froze. And it was really a moment of self-doubt of, I can't believe Molly's trusting me with this. What am I doing? I don't remember. Oh my gosh. But then it kind of slowly but surely, the rust fell off my bicycle wheels and I just started going for it. And it was so much fun. We have tons of stories from this adventure that we could just spend hours and hours laughing over. And literally one of the interns, Claire Hubley, who was with us throughout the book, and she came up with our Eat Fit BR dietitian, Savannah Latimer, to help shoot in North Louisiana before we went down to New Orleans to shoot the remaining drinks. But Claire and I were talking about the book, and she said, I literally think when I look at the French 75 of that shutter, I had to go outside at the cabin and get a broom and open it because I hope you were asking for more. I need more window light. I'm big about natural light. We shot in natural light, all of these drinks, because it gives the most vibrant colors. I think Ethan can speak to that too. But yeah, every drink has a story behind it. And as you can tell, I'm just so enthusiastic about this book coming out and us getting it to share it with the world. I feel like we have a real gift to share.
We were talking about the Hope didn't just go into the book and she wasn't just, okay, let me start shooting. You were very thoughtful about what is the look, the feel, what is the mood that we want of this. And so there's a lot of books that are really light, bright, and airy, and this one's not. but it's not only moody and saturated, but it's very, the photos are so rich, they're so full, they're so textured. So what's your thought process as you would frame up a photo? So like we can kind of talk through it. So Ethan, being our bar expert, we did several days shoots here with different locations. And, here in the New Orleans area, Ethan did the vast majority. There's a beautiful space that Hope mentioned that she was able to do some of the drinks up there. And then Ethan took the lead on, it was a lot of drinks Ethan made, styled, and then, how do you do it so you don't get the ice melting at the wrong time? And there was just a lot of making the drink and making sure it looked the way it needed. And then Ethan doing the styling, Hope and Ethan also putting their heads together on the styling, the glassware, the textures with that. So talk to us about kind of like what goes into that.
Oh, well, it was a very creative process and so fun to work with Ethan. When I take photos of mostly just food and my children, I'm always thinking about what story it tells. And the composition, I think I've learned, I kind of naturally have a knack for and an eye for it. But you want to layer a photo to give interest. You start with the glassware, which we had beautiful glassware to work with.
Can we give a quick shout out on the glassware?
Please. Yeah.
My friend Jeff Clark, who's also done my hair, Brad's hair, now all my in-laws' hair, but he has been, my hair guy for over 2 decades now. And as chance would have it, he just started getting into the vintage glassware collection in the past maybe year to 18 months. And so these beautiful, beautiful glasses, Ethan goes to his place and was like, you were there for hours.
Yes, I was there for hours. It's truly just a treasure trove of items, some of which I actually ended up purchasing from him as well.
Oh, wow.
For my own collection. Yeah. Which was great. And yeah, Hope mentioned the glassware was just truly beautiful. And, we're talking about pieces from as far back, I believe, as the 1940s, probably late 30s even as well.
So yeah, we were really, really fortunate. So Jeffrey Clark style, I believe, is, if you do a quick Google on it, but or you can always just reach out to me separately and I can connect you with him, because the glassware that you'll see through here, it made the subject easy. Because if we would just go with things that we had in our own pantries or our own cabinets, it would just be, it's ordinary. And most of us don't have glassware that looks so special this way. So that started with these drinks to kind of give them, it really made them like their own character in each of the spots. And then there's the garnish. So Ethan, talk with us a little bit about like garnish and how that drink even built. And then Hope, kind of the layers and the depth, or because all of these have some sort of color or texture, or you couldn't really see where these shots were in a lot of them. But what you did see, you didn't have to even know exactly what it was. It gave more of a feeling. But yeah, so Ethan, talk with us about like garnish.
Something that we talk about a lot in the book are these kind of embellishments that sometimes people tend to throw away whenever they're, creating a cocktail, not necessarily throw away physically, which, often actually ends up happening, but are actually vital to the success of creating a well-balanced cocktail. So I think glassware, obviously the method of delivery is very important depending on the type of drink that you're creating, of course. But also, garnishes like mint, for example, or expressing the lemon, which we, famously had a fun photo shoot on your kitchen counter for hours to get one, specific shot of a technique that we were describing. Those all add things like aromatics and influence the actual sensation of taste and smell. And that ultimately informs, the end result, which is going to be a beautiful drink. Something else too that you touched on just a little bit earlier that I really want to give Hope credit to, and maybe a little bit of my prodding as well with, it's not easy to shoot a cocktail book of over 50 recipes in the summertime in Louisiana. Yes.
To be fair, it's not easy to do anything in the summertime in Louisiana.
Other than just lay.
Hope mentioned Cavin. in this multi-century old building on the second floor for a few of the shoots. And so, just the idea of ice melting or sweat on a glass or little small characteristic details that, are super important when you're photographing cocktails. And then making sure the drink looks fresh and looks brand new every time. There's a lot of effort that goes involved. And I think just speaking to the passion that Hope has for photography, I think that your passion and your prowess are both on display in the pages of this book. You should be very proud, because we all are as well.
Thank you. Well, you know what? Working with each of you made it so easy and just truly enjoyable. I mean, I would love to do another project with this whole team, because we really did, I feel, knock it out of the parks. And Ethan, to speak to his talents, it's not just that the drinks are beautiful. They were easy to photograph because Ethan made them so, and he was very detail oriented, but they also taste incredible. And that was something that I love that we were thoughtful about, was not just making it beautiful for the book and then, however people end up making it, it may taste, it tastes great to us. It may not taste great to them. No. Across the board, these drinks are going to wow anyone who makes them. My husband, who has, I would say, a palate for really fine food and beverages, including libations, he tasted the Posmo last night, and it got a really great reaction out of it. He was, wow, this is really good. And it's just not your average old chip of the, off the block mocktail.
Right.
It's elegant. They are sophisticated, elevated drinks. And it was very much a team effort.
My husband had the same reaction about the French 75, because of course it's a 0 proof French 75. So he knows what the usual tastes like. And he was like, wow, that's really incredible. He loved them both. I think, speaking to Ethan and flavors, just kind of a quick note for our listeners, the gist of this book, which we talk about in more detail with Ethan and Melanie and I in our podcast from months ago that I'll link to. But the general gist of it is that we went to our Eat Fit restaurants and we said, what is your best 0 proof cocktail? And we got a lot of stuff that was what a lot of restaurants serve as kind of the usual. And we were like, well, this isn't going to build us an entire book of beautiful, fabulous drinks. So we went back to the restaurants and said, what is your best cocktail period? What is your beautiful, your wow factor? And then Ethan basically worked backwards and said, how are we going to use an Eat Fit simple syrup? And what do Eat Fit simple syrup recipes look like? How do we make these? How do we infuse these? And then also, how do we make them 0 proof in keeping those flavors? So when Hope is speaking into that of Ethan, it wasn't just, let's create these drinks. It's, we have this existing drink and let's make it very, very similar, Eat Fit and 0 proof. Ethan, you mentioned like the sweat on the glass, and there's so many photos, Hope, that you have that and I think just someone listening to this and thinking, if you're photographing, even just for your own like social media account or something that you're doing and you want to put together good photos, Hope talked about, you've got that star of the shot, which we have this really cool glassware and these beautiful drinks with these beautiful, I say garnish, Ethan says embellishments. That sounds a lot better. These beautiful embellishments. That Hope also, you're really big about leaving the imperfections. And so where that ice got on the counter and started to melt, or where there's like what someone might see as scraps that needed to be cleaned up, you're like, don't touch. No, this is perfect.
Raspberries on the chopping block.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
The real in the moment. And what it does is it adds layers and interest instead of it looking so sterile or more, just boring. Honestly, I feel like that adds interest. It adds pow and flavor to a photo.
I like to call it signs of life. And I think that the tools that are used in making the cocktails also serve to create more of that signs of life flavor when you're taking a photo. So when you have the muddler that has obviously been used, it has a little bit of liquid or, some of the herbs or what have you that it was used to muddle, the ice bucket, whatever those tools are, the strainer, those add some layering and some texture and just some interest beyond just the beautiful
Absolutely.
cocktail as well. And you guys were really good at doing that too, including that in. And when people make their beautiful, beautiful zero proof cocktail from the book, then they can take a photo inspired by your photo and they can share it on social media and they can hashtag and tag us in it.
And we would love to see them.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to see your photos.
I love the
Inspired by
idea
craft.
of the signs of life, right? So like the muddler, the residue on the muddler, the blueberries on the counter, whatever it may be. I think that also allows people, as Hope mentioned, we're capturing a feeling and a setting as well. That's not like any distinct location. It actually allows people to transpose themselves into this world and say, oh, great. It's more of like the just like me kind of attitude of the home bar that I really love.
And it's doable within everyone's homes. That's what I also love about these recipes is it's some recipe books, cookbooks, you look at them and you go, oh, that's a beautiful photo. Ooh, those are really exotic ingredients. And some of them may be to people who aren't well versed in the zero proof cocktail or even the cocktail worlds. But I think our book does a really great job of educating and breaking it down and keeping it pretty simple in layman's terms too.
Also giving alternatives. So if someone wasn't able to find one, we mentioned Claire, our intern earlier, and she was on a hunt for, I believe it was like pink pepper.
Yes,
Himalayan
pink peppercorns.
Oh yeah, pink peppercorn. Yeah.
And
As a
that,
garnish.
That was one that was a real challenge to find, that one of our restaurants uses pink peppercorns. And so we said, we've got to find another option here to be able to recommend to people, because she was just, bless her heart, she'd gone to like every store in the city. And we thought, well, if she's having this much trouble finding this here, we need to give people other options here. A note on the zero proof spirits. This is something that a lot of people may not be super familiar with. And when we were first doing this book, we were taught, we have an entire chapter that sort of our top picks, our recommendations for zero proof spirits and wines and beer. And I remember we had the conversation and we said, because essentially we turned our content in a year before.
I think it was a little bit shorter timeline. We had a very brief timeline in terms of how long you normally have to create a book and get it to press.
No, you know what? I think it was a year because it was like August-ish.
But probably I was trying to actually recount that to a friend of mine who asked the question of how long did it take. And I think we started talking about it in the like late summer, early fall, but we didn't really get kicked off at that moment. No, am I wrong? Molly's shaking her head. No, you are incorrect, Melanie.
Yeah, we started talking about it late spring because it was Ethan had his idea. Hey, Molly.
Okay, maybe I didn't get pulled in until later.
Melanie, it felt very short for me.
It was in my head. It was
ultimately it was very short. We started talking about it kind of like spring-ish of 2021. And we pulled it together through that summer. And I believe it was around August that our deadline was to the publisher. And so it was about a little over a year that then the publisher does all the editing and all this, and then the book gets printed. So we were like, what's going to happen in that year? Because we're recommending brands. And I remember we all had a little bit of concern that was like, are we going to date it by talking about these brands? And what's happened over that year plus since we submitted to the publisher and then the book is actually now in our hands is those brands are still relevant. The biggest difference is now they are in stores, because when we were writing the book, you would have to order them through the product website or maybe Amazon. And then of course, shipping liquids is, that usually gets pricey. Now these zero proof spirits, there's local retailers, local wine shops and such are carrying these. Places like Total Wine, Whole Foods are really starting to add more and more of these. So when Hope talks about easy to find, easy to access ingredients, we're talking about those extras and the flavors, but also the spirits. Just know that over the course of this book coming to life, those ingredients have become easier to find in stores too. Hope, what are some of your favorite stories? Like your behind the scenes stories of the photos?
I was thinking when you were talking about the Eli, it's the oldest building here in Monroe. It's on the Washtenaw River. It's beautiful. It's actually 3 restaurants and bars, associated with those restaurants within one 2-story building. So bottom level is Cotton, top upper is the Eli, which has these beautiful windows that we shot near. And then the back is another oyster bar. But because it is so old, and originally, here's a fun little factoid, it was a brothel originally.
And
So,
also, I think listeners might be interested in the celebrity chef affiliated with Cotton. And I can't remember if he's affiliated with Eli as well.
Corey Barr.
Yes. He's also really
he
cute.
Is no longer there.
Oh, he's not?
He helped,
bummer.
He helped found Cotton.
Uh-huh.
He was on the original team who brought Cotton to life. But yeah, he's
moved on.
Heritage.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But they still have his infamous duck wraps on the menu. But the Eli it's just got really beautiful settings. However, the floor is lopsided. I mean, I remember trying to frame the drinks, and I would realize that the liquid was sort of a diagonal. And so I'm like, people don't realize how physical. It's really a workout when you shoot something, because you're contorting into all of these different, like getting very low and all around and standing on chairs and falling off of them, which we'll tell that story about the Blueberry Fall incident momentarily. But you work up a sweat, and I was, I think, 4 months pregnant at the time too.
You got into our bathtub for one of the shots.
I was, hanging, like my legs were hanging over the bathtub, trying to leaning back. And Savannah would always pull her phone out and take photos of me trying to get the shot.
Contorted.
So that was, that's a really great memory of just having those behind the scenes moments with the team.
Some of the Eli shots, you actually had to tilt the camera to accommodate the tilted floor. That's interesting. You're right. To make the drink look straight, your camera was tilted. Yeah.
I've experienced that in New Orleans a lot. There's nothing in New Orleans that's straight. So if you're trying to shoot something, you always have to compensate for the entire building being crooked.
Yeah. It was a challenge I was not anticipating.
Well, especially like you said, that was your first day that you were also having a twinge of self-doubt. And then you were like, oh my gosh, right. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
By that point, though, by the time and it was this one area where the flooring was soft, but I was like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. The background, I've really got to nail this shot. But
was that the one with Rosemary, the Rosemary 94?
Yes, it was, with the torch rosemary across the top.
So there's this one drink, and for those of y'all who do happen to pick up a copy of Craft, we're talking about the Rosemary 94. It's the photo of it is, it's page 88, the recipe's on 89. Hope had this texture behind it, this wallpaper that it mimicked. It almost looked like rosemary, but it's very, very old, very almost like a weathered.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of that beautiful decay that somehow designers are able to achieve effortlessly. But when I try to do it, it just looks like trash.
Like your grandmother's.
It looks like the decay.
It does. Yeah, the decay part. But it's stunning. That's actually one of my favorite photos. There's a marble top table, or what looks like a marble top table, underneath the drink. And it's in this gorgeous vintage martini glass that has some etching. And then there's this beautiful torched rosemary, just very simply laying across the top. And then that wallpaper behind it that's sort of blurred out. And you honestly could not have conceived of that in your brain and had it look that good. It's just luscious.
Hope, when you were up there.
It was just a happy coincidence that wallpaper was in one of the rooms. And when we saw it, that was the artistry of bringing the book to life with the photos. You have to kind of act in the moment. I mean, I knew what the Eli looked like. I didn't know what Kevin and Chloe looked like, but you're taking in your environment. You're looking at, okay, what's the drink going to look like? What's the glass going to look like? What surfaces do I have to work with? What's my lighting doing right now? And that shot was just so made for, and that drink was so made for it, right in front of the beautiful, it had magnolias on it, this wallpaper. I would love that wallpaper in my home, actually. It was gorgeous.
And being able to see that and then see that this is the perfect space for it. I think all of that it's one thing for it to be there, and then it's another to pull these other textures that you're seeing in the room or pulling them around it. What are some more? I'll also say, when you were there, because this was the first day of the first shoot, And when Hope was there and she was, she and Savannah were sending me a few of the photos that were, they would take a photo from their iPhone, just to kind of show, here's the type of a shot that Hope had gotten. And I was like, oh, this is all going to be fine. Like,
right.
This is going to be better than fine.
You
this
guys
is amazing.
shared some of those in the moment photos and the behind the scenes stuff with me because I wasn't able to come to the shoots. And I was always just so bowled over by how gorgeous just a simple cell phone snap looked. So I was very excited to see the finals. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. So Hope, what are some other favorites?
The Amelia was another that I loved, which we did. That was also at the Eli. We had the woman who was working with us, the bartender, was lovely, and she was very accommodating. Her artistry was quite impressive, and we had, I think it was either 6 or 8 of these glasses that the drink was going to go into. And this is a drink that they actually serve that we did, the zero proof version of for the book. And it's this beautiful ruby color, and the rims of the glass were rimmed with this black lava salt. So it was very dramatic. And I got some fun shots of her filling each of the glasses kind of in this long row. But the ultimate shot that we used for the book was of hands. And I love when a photograph has that human element with hands. We actually got, I think, we did get some shots with Ethan's hands in them. He has great hands. You have great hands, Ethan. But I love that, the toasting photo with the Amelia, and the Rosemary 94 were actually 2 of my favorite drinks. I believe they were Savannah's too. So those are 2 outstanding beverages.
So Hope, one of my favorite stories was about the drink called the Blueberry Fall. And it's funny in more than one way, especially because everyone ended up surviving it, but without injury, to my knowledge. And also, it's funny because that is where the name of the drink actually came from, because it was something else before that. Yeah. So, Hope, please share that story with all of us.
Okay, gladly. We were second day shooting in New Orleans. So we had wrapped, a certain number of drinks up here in North Louisiana, and then a couple weeks later headed down, and we were right on target with where we wanted to be. Day 1, wrapped how many ever drinks we shot, and we were starting off with day 2, and the original name of the drink, I believe, was Blueberry Crush.
Or
is that right, Ethan?
Something
or Smash, maybe.
Smash. I think it was a Smash.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's sure to be a smash if you make it. But we did decide to rename it because out of the gate, day 2, we're shooting at cabin. It's perfect lighting outside. So Ethan had made, I think, maybe 6. And I love shooting when the drinks that had multiple glasses. So there were some drinks that we only had 1 glass of that specific glassware. But when I was able to do multiple and give that whole party feel, the celebration of everybody coming together, because that's what this book really does point to is, hey, get together. You don't have to have foolproof alcohol, beverages, that you can actually make healthful decisions and enjoy this special occasion, and you can be zero proof. So we had this drink. Ethan had made it, and it was very specific ingredients. I think it had a hatch pepper to it, and he had done it beautifully. It was in this caddy, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, I need to get above it and get a little bird's eye view. So I'm standing in a chair, and I have the thought, this is how things go in my life typically.
4 months pregnant.
The thought will land in my head like, oh gosh, you better not fall. This is not going to be good. You would ruin the glasses. Something would be, inevitably break. Oh, and you're 4 months pregnant, so you probably shouldn't be sitting in a chair. But I'm doing it because I'm committed to getting the shot. And and what happens 15 seconds later, the chair that I'm standing on literally just I go to actually step down and lose my footing, because your balance is off when you're pregnant. And all those years of dance training did not come And you see, I was not graceful in that moment. Hopeful, not graceful. But yes, came crashing down. Luckily, the drinks were okay. The glassware was fine. My shin got pretty battered, but I was the most upset. Everything obviously with baby girl was fine. Because my shin took the impact of the chair in the fall. But my camera lens broke, and it was the camera lens that I was shooting with, and I didn't have an extra, which is like rookie mistake, right? There, that speaks to the amateur photographer that I am.
Oh no, I didn't know your lens broke, but I will say that in your defense, the biggest rookie mistake is to not bring extra batteries. And so if you had a full charge the whole time, then you're not a rookie.
Didn't run out of battery, didn't run out of SD room on the car.
The lens was a much bigger issue.
That is a big issue.
Because apparently camera stores no longer sell camera equipment. There was not a lens to be found. We keep talking about
locally
Claire.
In New Orleans.
God bless Claire. She ran and called and went to every camera store, and even places that are called camera in the name no longer sell camera supplies. They're only online.
Mm-hmm.
So Hope, we ended up borrowing one. Yes.
Someone, I think she put it out on some board through Tulane, and God bless Claire, and God bless this Tulane student who let me borrow his 50mm lens to shoot the next day. We literally had to stop. We lost a day of shooting because of this incident, because we couldn't find, I was bleeding from my shin, which there's, and I think Molly, you started snapping pictures because I have an ice pack on my leg and it's propped up, but I'm more concerned.
I think Savannah was taking the pictures of me icing your leg.
See, you all held out on me. I didn't know all of this background. And it really speaks to everyone's commitment to adapt and overcome so many circumstances.
So we get a call from Oshner HR.
When you make this drink, when everyone makes this drink, the Blueberry Fall, know that so much pain and suffering went into making this gorgeous drink for you.
Because we were immediately like, we've got to change the name of this. Like, yes, we're outside. Hope, and Hope is such a trooper and so strong and has just, like I said, so much strength and so much grace. And that was the moment. The tears came because it was, I don't think it had anything to do with the pain. I think it was the frustration and feeling like you were like, you knew that this was like a challenge for the day, and you felt like you were letting things down, and you were like so discouraged. And so we were like, we've got to like make a thing of this. Like we need to like,
make something good out of it.
We did double time the next day. I remember we had a really long day, but a productive and wonderful day. It all turned out the way it was supposed to, we ended up getting the shot, I think before the camera lens broke. We did make the drink again the next day, but we went with shots that we got before the fall, and then the Blueberry Fall was born. So it's a funny story, and we can look back and laugh at it now. But it was frustrating because it, like every, I think, type A perfectionist dietitian, I have, this is exactly how this is my plan. We're going to cross this off the list, and then I'm going to drive back up to my family tomorrow after lunch. And then we had to be flexible and flex on the fly, and it was just part of it.
So Ethan, in the design of drinks and pulling together the flavors and pulling together, because you look at the flavors, you're looking at what does it taste like? What does it look like? You're also looking at how is the everyday person going to be able to pull this drink together, and can they? And so you're looking at it through all these different lenses to make sure it's beautiful, it's elevated, it meets the standards that you, with your, exquisite taste and palate would want, but it's also approachable. So what are some of the things that were important to you to keep in mind, like through that development stage?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, especially over the past 10 years with my previous experience, it's fairly easy for me to sit down and just write a cocktail recipe, whether it be zero proof or otherwise. And I think, it was kind of interesting to develop these under the guise more so of Eat Fit than it was making them zero proof, and making them, in the quantity that we had to. We have over 50 recipes in the book, which is kind of astounding looking back at at that number, because they aren't all, the vast majority of them are not simple spritzes and fruit juice and soda water. So coming up with creative solutions to that, but we're really creating a balanced cocktail with incorporating items like citrus or coconut cream, bitters that we talk about, homemade shrubs, our simple syrups that we've done, extensive research on and testing. But, it's so funny when we talk about the photography sessions as well. I think it's important to note, I mean, Molly and I, we've reviewed the recipes at this point. We probably shot, I think we had probably 30 of the drinks to shoot over this time period in New Orleans that we were speaking of. For some reason, the number 36 sticks out in my head, but which was a lot, obviously, to accomplish. But for a lot of these, it was the very first time actually making the drink as well and finalizing the recipe for print. So it was really great. And that's where, even more sort of behind the scenes, and just proving that this is a really collaborative project and always has been, is making the drinks and really doing some extra R&D with, our partners on the project in the moment when we're tasting the drinks and saying, okay, this doesn't work. We're going to adjust the level of citrus here, or too much acid, so we're going to balance out with sugar, or extend the volume with a secondary or tertiary ingredient like soda water or things like that. So I think that that's actually really cool. That's probably my favorite part, is actually making the drinks for the first time. And what a lot of people probably won't realize is we made the drinks for the first time, the majority of them at least, for the photos. And so that was really my opportunity to see, okay, cool, this is where we can make small adjustments that aren't going to, affect the look of the drink, but it's actually going to make it translatable for, the everyday person that is going to use this in their home.
I think you have in your head, like you have that skill, that talent of, like you said, you can just draft a recipe for a standard cocktail that you're pretty sure is going to be pretty spectacular. And that was really how you were able to do this approach, so that we at least even knew what ingredients to get, what are all these things. And then as we were all together as a group, then we were all able to taste them. And that's when Ethan had his foundation for the drinks, and then we were able to use that opportunity to fine tune it. And like Ethan said, a little more. Ethan, you said sugar, but
not sugar, Ethan.
Oh, yes. Well, no,
sweetener,
sweetness.
And so one of those was, how do we find an Eat Fit simple syrup recipe that we feel comfortable giving and standing behind as a quality ingredient?
And
and branding that with your label,
And we suffered for the art, for all of the readers and home bartenders, by literally taste testing countless simple syrups made from all of these sweeteners.
So plant-based sweeteners are very, 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 very different. And we brought in all these really just elevated people in the bar and cocktail scene and subjected them to
really, really experienced, not just bartenders and industry folks, but people who have also written their own recipe cocktail books and who really have these extensive super taster palettes to drink a bunch of simple syrup.
Bellied up around my island. And we had also Claire, our intern who we keep talking about. We had maybe, 6 or 8 different varieties. And we really landed for y'all, the readers and users of this book, on 2 different blends that make really, really good simple syrups. And so that part was key. So then we had that then Ethan would play around with the amounts and such. And then there's other recipes that, kind of like Ethan was saying, or Melanie said, what reads well or what makes sense to the home user. And so what might be common speak in Ethan's world, the regular person doesn't know what that means. And so there's also some of the labors of love that someone who is a bar expert is going to take, the home user won't. Ethan, there's the oleosaccharum.
Mm-hmm. Oleosaccharum.
Yes.
That's one where
Which sounds like something from Harry Potter.
It does sound like a spell, yes.
And I think I may have been one to bring up, I don't think people will know what that is.
Well, not only would they not know what it was, but Hope, when y'all first made it, because y'all made this in Monroe, and what we ended up,
nor would they have the time to make it.
Right.
Well, I was just thinking about what it was such a collaborative effort, not only with our team, but I think our husbands too, right? Molly?
Yes.
Brad was
True.
very much to support my husband when Claire and Savannah arrived the very first night we were going to shoot the next day. I left Keith at home to make some of the syrups and
so
ingredients.
We put in there.
Saccharum was one of them.
We put in there the time saver because Ethan, if you would talk about what it is and why it's time consuming and how the solution that you came up with to fix the fact that most people are not going to make this the usual way at home.
Can I weigh in on that one?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because Hope and Savannah and our intern Claire are all up in Monroe. Again, Savannah had driven from Baton Rouge, up there to help support Hope in this. And they're messaging me and they're like, they of course are preparing all of these drinks for this shoot at the Eli and such for, the next day. And so like Hope said, husbands are involved, all this, but Savannah is like, Molly, this recipe calls for a cup of lemon peels. Do you know how many lemons you have to peel to get a cup of lemon peels?
Well, so it wasn't even.
It was orange.
It was the zest.
Wasn't it?
There's both. I think we have one lemon and one orange. Yes.
Yes.
Which is way worse.
Remember the orange and what we needed to, what the drink that it was being used in called for. We could not extract that amount, that volume.
Yes.
And so we actually just ended up squeezing some orange into it to get the juices flowing a little bit more. But it was pretty intensive. And, Ethan, he's such a whiz and we are not,
right.
I can handle a camera, but I've literally months prior to shooting these drinks, I was on our local NBC 10 affiliate and literally threw a cocktail shaker accidentally on live TV. I am probably the best example of if I can make the drinks, anyone can make these drinks. But the Alea Saccharum was just a lot of muddling, and you're trying to get those essential oils out of the peel. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan.
Yes.
And use those to impart those beautiful oils into a drink. However, we do have a time saver in the book, which I think most people will enjoy and utilize.
So Ethan compromised with us. So we have the recipe for, there's a lemon-based Oleo Saccharum and then also an orange-based one. And so the compromise was, okay, if you don't want to take the time for this, and it is this very, very intricate recipe, that if someone is Ethan or in Ethan's world, this is just part of what they're doing. This is part of the complexities of flavors and all of these things that add that extra something that when you go out to a restaurant or somewhere and you're tasting things and you're going, man, how does this all come together? It's these types of little ingredients. The time saver, however, is just let's add a tablespoon of the Eat Fit Simple Syrup recipe, which is really essential to make. And then the juice of half of a lemon or a little bit of the juice of an orange. So, and Ethan tried that and tasted and said, it's not the same, but yes, this can work as a compromise, And so those are the things that taking what he would consider, this is what it needs to be the perfection, but here's what we can do to bring it to the home user.
And
Absolutely. Saccharum is one of those things that kind of is very esoteric to the bar world. And it is so great that we were able to bring an alternative, which I really am super proud of. And I've actually imparted that tip on several of my friends as well. But you're totally right. It is the extraction of the essential oils from the peel and zest of, a given citrus, in this case being lemon or orange. So usually that's a lot easier as well when you're using, cane sugar. Of course, we were using alluloses, but that probably really didn't make as big of a difference as I expected, which was really nice and just confirming in my own beliefs after, we tasted all of these simple syrups as we discussed previously, but, confirming that this is really just, allulose is just such a viable substitute as a plant-based sweetener. I love it.
I also wanted to just mention that we had an army of regular people who also made these recipes at home and gave their feedback, because we thought it was important to have people that aren't bartenders who would have to actually source these ingredients, and not just the grocery items, but also the spirits, the zero proof spirits and other items that were used in it, so that we knew, A, can people find these things? B, is this something that somebody who doesn't stand behind a bar every day, are they going to be able to make it? And some of that feedback definitely influenced the way the recipes are written and the way that, the ingredients are used.
There's a couple of drinks in here. As you flip through the book, you'll see there's some that are layered drinks, and they look like they're magic tricks in a glass that Ethan created. And those were some of the harder ones for people to recreate at home. And one of them has some egg whites that are in there, and they're frothed. And I think that Ethan, did we have in the instructions, you added some ice and an egg, and we said shake it vigorously. And then I was like, Ethan, watch me make it and you see what I'm doing, because this person's tried it twice and it's not working. It's not coming out. And then you were like, oh, Molly, that's not shaking vigorously. So then I think we had to really define
what vigorously means,
how long. I think
the time limit. Yes.
If you think you're shaking it hard, it's not hard enough. Shake it harder.
And shake it harder and longer.
Egg whites are one of those things, right? I mean, you think about making a meringue for baking, and thankfully we have beautiful appliances that can do that for us. Nobody wants to make a meringue by hand, but at the same time, that's what you're doing when you're putting egg white or even aquafaba in a cocktail, is you're really wanting that meringue and that texture and that, thick sort of foamy quality from that egg. So it is very, very difficult.
We also, the one that we're talking about for anybody who's flipping through craft, it's the hibiscus fizz. It's on page 119. We made that drink. We show you the finished product of this magic trick layering that is the final result. But we showed 5 photos, the kind of the steps along the way, to show here's what it's supposed to look like inside of the shaker at each step, so that someone could know they were on the right track.
Right. It's one of the few that we have step-by-step photos that show you exactly what to do, when and how. And not only that, but I also think it's important to mention that there are different markers in the book letting you know if things are gluten-free, low carb. This hibiscus fizz, because it does use egg white, we also have an alternative of how to make it vegan. So if you're out there and you're thinking that's disgusting and I don't eat animal products, we thought of you as well.
And I think something too important too with the step-by-steps, right? So layering, but also, the way that we describe the techniques for aeration of egg white to meringue, these are all translatable skills, right? So I think, in continuing your own experience and dive into the zero proof cocktail world, I think, we did a really good job of demonstrating and sort of imparting this knowledge that then, you can translate to other cocktails or other creations, whether it be your own or somebody else's.
You're right, because you provided all the education on how to, DIY, the do-it-yourself section for shrubs and bitters and all these tools and resources that Ethan pulled together of how to do this in a zero proof and eat fit way. You're exactly right. So we've got these recipes to guide you. Then you have your other recipes that you're looking at of how to make this cocktail. And you would say, well, I want to pull the sugar from that drink, or I want to do this. You don't have to limit it to our drinks. This gives you the tools and really the toolkit to apply it to really any cocktail across.
And what I think also is great is he gives these primers on things like why you're using certain garnish or embellishments with certain drinks or certain flavors. And that was something that I always found a little bit random. I didn't realize that there was a thoughtfulness to the certain embellishments that my, neighborhood cocktail masters were using on their drinks. And lo and behold, there's intention behind it.
Oh, there should be.
Right. Well, there should be. Yes, definitely. Sometimes somebody just slaps a lime on it and goes on about their day.
Exactly. Yes.
Melanie has experimented with some of the most creative garnishes I've ever seen that have maybe nothing to do with what's actually in the drink, but maybe other flavors that she thought would go well with that drink. And it becomes a garnish.
Yes, I think
love that.
you're probably referring to my liberties that I take with both foolproof and zero proof Bloody Marys. I lived in Texas for about 12 years, and there I learned that the more garnish you put in a Bloody Mary, the better. And most of it should be meat. So you might go to brunch, and most of your brunch is actually the garnish that's in the Bloody Mary, which I don't have a problem with. And so you would see things like summer sausage and a chicken wing. And I mean, really, it was limitless. So I sort of ran with that. And I originally come from Northern Kentucky, which is very near Cincinnati, Ohio. And there's this weird, I guess, probably to most people, sausage that is completely regional. It's called Geta. And I once took some Geta, which is a mixture of sausage and oatmeal. I know it sounds, I don't know, it's sort of like a boudin for people who are familiar with Louisiana cuisine, which is a sausage mixed with rice. And so this is mixed with oatmeal, or oats rather, and you make it into patties. And so I put that. I've used deer meat. I mean, I just feel like this, you do whatever you want. Have a good time.
With Bloody Marys, I would definitely say more is more.
Yes, I think I might offend. I might offend Ethan if I were to do that with some elegant cocktail, but he gives me a pass with Bloody Marys.
Oh yeah, the Bloody Mary, I'd say throw the kitchen sink at it. I am a big fan personally. I know we're just a little off topic when I mention this, but if you add some beef bouillon to your Bloody Mary mix, it's called a Bloody Bull. It actually like really, really makes this beautiful savory, like an actual meal. It's crazy. And it actually also helps, Bloody Marys, they're so thick and relatively dense. So you're not necessarily going to taste the alcohol at all. Sometimes in a Bloody Maria, I can get, a hint of tequila. But I think I would recommend to anyone that's looking for a zero proof Bloody Mary that wants to potentially cut down on, I think the biggest issue for Bloody Mary is probably the sodium, just maybe 50-50 with the water Bloody Mary mix, and then just a tablespoon or two of beef broth. And that will just totally help you out there.
So here's where my
I think
head
when you
goes.
said bouillon, I think Molly's and my eyebrows probably got way up with thinking about the sodium, right, Molly?
Well,
We're talking to each other like,
yes
whoa,
to
it's the
that.
sodium in that.
Yeah, because the Bloody's high, and then that. But then I was like, but hold on a second. What if he used bone broth? Now we've got, if he's using the beef bone broth, we've got a high protein Bloody Mary. Now there's a whole other thing. We've got to do another book.
There we go.
Hope, nothing that I said was
calling another one.
Hope started it. She said we needed another one.
Awesome, y'all. So anything else? So for our listeners, you can tell we love craft, the Eat Fit Guide to Zero Proof Cocktails. You can also hear the labor of just love and passion from myself, from Ethan coming in as our bar expert, Melanie as our executive editor. Melanie, who also, just as a side note, check out her website, also her social, the Drink Fit Club, which has tons and tons of resources for you on low and no alcohol beverages. And then Hope, our Eat Fit Monroe dietitian, leading and steering Eat Fit and the Northeast Louisiana region, also with this not so hidden talent of being just such an incredible photographer. All of us pulling this book together, we're really happy with how it came out. It's beautiful. It's educational. It's so informative. You can use this as a starting point, take it into other areas of drinks that you're making or have been making, kind of what's coming out of your own kitchen, your own home bars. You can find full information about the book at craftzeroproof.com. You can follow our Eat Fit social accounts, Eat Fit NOLA, also Eat Fit Monroe. We have them all across the state, but we'll leave it at that for you guys. And then on our website, craftzeroproof.com, that'll bring you to where you can order the book directly from there, or you can find retailers near you. So anything else, y'all? Thank you so much for your times.
Thank you, Molly. I just want to encourage everyone to experiment and have fun and go into it with open-mindedness, because it can be a really fun adventure, whether you're thinking about completely giving up alcohol or if you're just taking a break for the night. or you're having a party and you want to make sure to offer something lovely for your friends or family members that don't drink.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Molly, and to everyone really for the warm welcome for this book. I think that just to echo Melanie's sentiment, a lot of people are like, oh, you wrote a cocktail book, and are kind of, when it hits them that it's a zero proof cocktail book, they're kind of questioning, why me specifically, having been in the industry for a decade and working as an alcohol distributor now for 2 years, why I, sort of chose to embark on this journey. And I think, it's about redefining, especially here in Louisiana and New Orleans specifically. I think it's so important to think about and redefine our relationship with alcohol. And I think that this book is just a conduit to that for everyone.
Beautiful.
Beautifully said. I'll just add here in Louisiana, to pivot off of what Ethan was saying, we are known for our food and drink and hospitality and our celebrations here. And we really can have the best of all worlds and still prioritize our health. When we think about health, it is the most important thing. Without our health, we have nothing. And so it's an interesting little challenge, wherever you are on the spectrum of drinking. If you consume alcohol, if you don't, this book is for literally everyone. I mean, it is for the people who like to get together and cook and party. It's for the pregnant mamas. It is for those who are sober curious, those who abstain from drinking. It's always fun and festive to have a little something special to serve to your guest, or just to, kick off a weekend with. And Craft is the book that you need to have in your home to do that.
Sweet. We will wrap it on that. Y'all all it just warms my heart, and such a beautiful collaborative team to work with. I love you all, and thank you.
Oh, we love you, Molly.
Lots of love for all of you. Thank you.
And Ethan, thank you for planting the seed of an idea that we all took it and ran. And so we'll link to all the information about Craft in the show notes of this episode. Hope and Ethan and Melanie are not only some of my favorite people, I love the energy. I love what they bring anytime I'm with them. They're also so incredibly talented. So to be able to pull together with a team like this to bring Craft to y'all has been just truly an honor and a really just amazing experience all around. So we're excited to share with y'all this peek behind the scenes, and we hope that you enjoy Craft as much as we do. I'm going to link to the website. It's craftzeroproof.com. You can kind of see a little peek inside of the book, flip through a few pages virtually there. We have the link to order. We have the link to find retailers near you, and let us know what you think. If you're trying these recipes, send us photos, share on social. We love seeing you immerse in what we are creating. I am registered dietitian Molly Kimball, and you've been listening to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, the podcast. If you'd like more Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, please head over to mollykimball.com, and you can follow me, Molly Kimball RD, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join us next week for another dose of Fueled Wellness and Nutrition. Thanks for listening, and stay focused on living your strongest, healthiest life.